12:14 p.m. on Thursday, August the 22nd, and I'm calling this meeting of the DNC Youth Council to order. As always, we're going to begin things with a land acknowledgement. The Democratic National Committee wishes to acknowledge that we gather together to state our values on lands that have been stewarded through many centuries by the ancestors and descendants of tribal nations who have been here since time immemorial. We honor the communities native to this continent and recognize that our country was built on indigenous homelands. We pay our respects to the millions of indigenous peoples throughout history who have protected our lands, waters, and animals. While we meet in Chicago, we also recognize and honor the traditional homelands of the Anishinaabe, also known as the Council of Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Oidawa, and Potawatomi nations. Democrats continue to support tribes as they advocate for the United States to uphold treaty and trust responsibilities. We applaud that in 2024, under the Biden-Harris administration, the Prairie Band of Potawatomi Nation became the first federally recognized tribal nation in Illinois in 175 years, when the U.S. Department of the Interior placed 130 acres of the Shabane Reservation in nearby DeKalb County into trust. And I want to thank DNC Native Caucus Chair Claire Pratt and our Youth Council staffer, Tyler McMillan, for writing that acknowledgement. Thank you. So good afternoon, y'all. My name's Andre Triber. I'm chair of the DNC's Youth Council, and I'm just so happy to be here with y'all today. Youth Council exists to advocate for young voices, for young activists, and young voters within the Democratic Party. We're here to make sure that the right investments are made into young leaders, candidates, and staff. And we're also here to advocate for youth issues. But I don't want to diminish the importance of these issues just by passing them off as youth issues. Because when we're talking about youth issues, we're talking about abolishing student loan debt so that young folks finally have the chance to live the middle class dream that the generations before us have had. When we're talking about youth issues, we're talking about supporting good union jobs. 90% of young folks support unions right now. And increasing the minimum wage for the first time in over a decade, along with the tipped minimum wage. When we're talking about youth issues, we're talking about ending the gun violence epidemic that has continued to plague us. The generation before mine dealt with Columbine. We continue to deal with it today, all the way through Uvalde. This trauma is continuing to pass on generations until our leaders act, and the Biden-Harris administration has been doing everything they can. Youth issues also mean supporting peace. Young folks believe in ending the bloodshed in the Middle East. We support a ceasefire. We support bringing all the hostages home. We support the ongoing negotiations that the Biden-Harris administration has been working diligently on to make sure everyone gets home safely, to make sure humanitarian aid ends up with those that need it, and to make sure that we can end this bloodshed in the Middle East. These are a bunch of issues that I believe are worth voting for. Now, unfortunately, as a bearer of bad news, I gotta give y'all something that is worth voting against. It is my solemn duty that I make sure everyone is aware that J.D. Vance is a millennial. And I'm not gonna couch my language about this guy. It is our solemn and sacred duty to make sure that weirdo is not the first millennial in the White House. So, here's the pandering part. So whether you're Gen Z and you're seeing your brat summer turn into a demure fall, or you're a millennial and you've got a new back pain today and you're saying this is giving me a lot of 2008 vibes, or God bless if you're Gen Alpha and you're coming to age in the world that we are trying so desperately to make right for you, I want you to remember a couple things. I want you to remember where we were 4 years ago when the COVID pandemic was ravaging our nation and we were losing friends and family. I want you to remember a photo op with a Bible that was brought to you by political violence and tear gas. I want you to remember the insurrection of January 6th. And now this next line, if y'all have been paying attention to the campaign, you know what it's gonna be, and since I'm losing my voice, I'm gonna need y'all to do it with me. Because think about 4 years ago, and we are not going back. We're not going back. We're not going back. Yep. Thank you, thank you. Young folks are not just the future of the Democratic Party, but we are the present. We are a machine that carries these campaigns forward. Young folks disproportionately are the ones knocking on doors, making phone calls, registering voters. We are the machine that powers Democratic victory and is made up of everyone here in this room today. So when you're thinking you just can't knock that last door, you just can't make that last phone call, remember what Tim Walz said, governor and coach, when he spoke with us. You can sleep when you're dead. And based off what I've been talking to all of y'all, I know y'all aren't sleeping this week anyways. So thank you very much. I am waiting for a cue. We're going to start welcoming up our speakers and shuffling things around in just a moment. And so in the meantime, I'm going to let our temporary vice chair come up and say a few words. We have to thank her so much for her service on Tuesday. Without Annika, we would not have been able to pull off having Governor Walz come up and speak with us. So, Annika, why don't you share a few words?
Hey folks, my name is Annika Crovey from the great state of South Carolina, and I am honored to be here speaking on my last day as chair of the High School Democrats of America. And it's an exciting time because it's a time about looking forward to the future, not only for myself as an individual, but for us as a collective, as a group of young Democrats who are ready to get stuff done. As a group of young Democrats that believe in a better tomorrow, that believe in a healthy climate, that believe in safer communities, that believe in a strong education system and workforce, that believe in housing and healthcare as human rights, that believe in reproductive freedom, that believe in the return of hostages and an end to the suffering of Palestinian civilians, and that believe in liberty and justice and peace for all. It is a pleasure to be here with you all today, to be representing a new generation of leadership, and I am so excited and enthusiastic to see all of you, each and every single one of you, stepping up to be the leaders, to be the change, and to be the people that our communities need to see most. Because in a time of suffering, and in a time of apathy, and in a time of hatred and fear and despair, we young people are the hope, the change, and the joy that our nation needs. Thank you so much.
And now, without further ado, I'm so happy to get us started on our program and to get some of our awesome speakers out here today. The first person we're going to hear from is Congresswoman Sarah Jacobs, who's in her second term in Congress and proudly serves California's 51st Congressional District, which includes much of the city of San Diego and all the cities of El Cajon, La Mesa, Lemon Grove, and the unincorporated communities of Spring Valley and La Presa. An important thing to note, and this is something that I just learned, but sorry, the screen, it went down. But Congresswoman Jacobs is the youngest Democrat in House leadership. We're so happy to have her here today and to join us. So, Congresswoman, please come on up.
Well, hi, you guys. It's so great to be here with you all. Most importantly, it's so great because your cutoff is 36 and I'm 35, so thanks for sneaking me in under there. So officially, I'm the 5th youngest member of Congress, although I dispute this fact because there's Maxwell Frost, who I think you all will hear from, and then there's 4 of us who were born in 1989, and my birthday just happens to come first. So I think we're all tied for second. Any other 1989ers in here? No? All right. Well, we have Taylor Swift, so that's fine. But I am so happy to be here with you all because I really think that young people are going to win us this election, and young people are the reason we're going to be able to get things done. And I know it hasn't been easy. You know, I'm a millennial. Many of you are millennials or Gen Z. We graduated college in the middle of the Great Recession, graduated high school and college during COVID. We've had never a day in our adult lives that the United States hasn't been at war. We've seen our economy not really work for us and for our families, and we often don't get taken seriously. I mean, I swear, if I see one more article about avocado toast being the reason millennials can't buy a house, I'm gonna scream. And, you know, I don't even really like avocado toast that much. I know it makes me a bad millennial. I know, I'm sorry. I represent Southern California too. I know, it's really bad. You know, it's especially hard when people don't take our issues seriously and when people think that we're just silly and young. I'm a member of Congress. I'm in my second term. I still get confused for an intern at least once a week. I was even once presiding over the House floor, and someone asked on the internet, like, what intern is up there? You literally can't preside on the House floor unless you're a member of Congress. So trust me when I tell you, I feel your pain when people don't take us seriously. But they should, because all of us, young people making our voices heard, we're the reason that we were able to accomplish so much in the Biden administration in my first term. Like, I truly believe that it was because young people made their voices heard that we were able to pass the biggest investment in climate change ever. And it was because young people made our voices heard that we were able to pass the first gun violence prevention legislation since I was in elementary school and since many of you were born. And it's because we're gonna make our voices heard that Kamala Harris is gonna be the next president of the United States. So I have to let you guys in on a little secret. Besides the avocado toast thing, 2 secrets. We're getting really close here. There's no adult who has all the answers and the plan. There's no wizard behind the curtain, all right? The adults, the people in the room, we don't really know what we're doing either. Maybe Nancy Pelosi has a master plan, actually. I take that back, but she's the only one. Well, anyways, Nancy Pelosi has a master plan. Let's clap for Nancy Pelosi. But we are the ones who are gonna have to make the change we want. And it's gonna really matter that we do. We all know the stakes of this election, right? I represent California. Sometimes those of us in California, we think like, oh, whatever they do in DC doesn't really matter. We're in California, we'll be protected. But the fact of the matter is, a federal abortion ban is going to impact us no matter what state you live in. And if we don't address climate change, that's going to impact us in every state in the union. And if we don't address the climate crisis and gun violence prevention and all of these other things that we care about, that's going to impact all of us. And so we need to keep working. And we also have really important things to add to the conversation, right? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've had to tell my colleagues, brat is a good thing. Brat's a good thing. But it extends beyond memes, right? So I introduced a bill to protect reproductive and sexual health data from period tracking apps, all these other things, because we know that that's at risk now in this post-Roe era. Well, the amount of my colleagues I've had to explain, yes, people track their periods, and yes, there are apps that help you do it, and here's how the data is used and why we need to protect it. In fact, while doing this, I became the first person ever, we think, in the history of the House to talk about my own period on the House floor. And that matters, right? Because if we're not talking about these issues, we're certainly not making good policy about these issues. So here's my task for you all. We've got 75 days to go. We need you. We need you to talk to your friends. We need you to explain to your friends why it's so important to turn out. We need to make sure that we are continuing with these awesome memes. I'm totally coconut pilled. I don't know about the rest of you. Coconut maxed, that's like the better version of coconut pilled, right? Yeah, okay. It's funny in Congress, like all my colleagues ask me about these things, but then I have to ask my younger staff to explain it to me so that I can explain it to them. So, you know, generational bridging, it's good, it's good. But here's the deal, you guys. We're in this incredibly important moment in our nation's history. And we're only going to be able to get through it with you all, with your creativity, with your wisdom, with your ideas. So don't let anyone tell you you're too young to make a difference, because that's bullshit. And don't let anyone tell you you don't know what you're talking about, because the things that we have lived through, we know what we're talking about, we know what we need, and we know what we need to do. So thank you all so much. I'm so proud to still be a young Democrat. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next guest is going to be Mayor Jalen Smith of Earl, Arkansas. There we go. There's some real love in the house. Mayor Jalen Smith won his election to be the mayor of Earl, Arkansas, and his victory made him the youngest black mayor in U.S. history, which also made him one of the youngest mayors, period, in U.S. history. His priorities have included improving public safety and transportation, beautification and renewal of underused housing, and emergency preparedness, and addressing food deserts. So Mayor Smith, please come on up.
Greetings, everyone. I am honored to be here. This is my first DNC convention. And this election, we have a lot at stake. When we look at the presidential nominee, Vice President Harris, we look at history going to be made here. Feel free to hold it. Okay. Yeah, thank you. But as we look at this election here in November for the vice president to take office, because guess what? Us as young people, we're going to mobilize and get people registered to vote, correct? We're going to do the right thing to get President Harris in the White House. But where I come from Arkansas, a Republican state. A Republican, we don't have a lot of Democrats in office in Arkansas. But what we can do from the ground, myself and other young people, we can get people out registered to vote, get people out to these events and mobilize and get them to the polls. Because at the end of the day, it's going to take young people to do it, because the future is ours, right? Okay. So it's very important to get people out registered to vote. A wise man once said, the great late Dr. Martin Luther King once said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy. But that's what's going to make us stronger as we unite together as Americans. Controversy and challenges, because we only can learn from controversy and challenges. Because if you don't have controversies and challenges in your life, I don't know what to tell you. But as Americans, we will have that so we can unite and become stronger. Because we live in a time where now we're so divided. But as young people, the older people are giving us the torch. And we have to pick it up and we have to run with it. Because we are going to save America. People don't expect young folks to be in the room today. But I beg the difference. We're running for office, we're getting out there, and we're making our voices heard. Because our voices are more powerful than you think. Your voice is your power to vote. Without your voice, there's no vote. And so it's very important that you all get to the polls, get people to the polls, call your neighbors, call your friend, tell a friend to get to the polls this November. because it's very important. And the vice president, I'm sure she's counting on you all because it's a Power People campaign. This is a Power People campaign. And in closing, I want to kind of give some encouraging words to you all. Is stay humble, stay focused, stay committed, and stay dedicated to the mission and vision that we have set up front. Because again, this country is ours. Because somebody in here is going to be the next president, the vice president, and the next Congress member of these United States of America. So it's very important that you all get involved, continue to do the work. I'm very proud of all of you. And remember this. You have two people in life, two different people in life. You have good people and you have bad people. Your bad people are the people that are sharpening you for your future that you don't see yet. So keep bad people around just a little closer. Because those are the people that honestly that are shaping you for your destiny. You will never get to destiny by your friends. You'll get to destiny by your enemies. So keep them close and continue to do the work, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mayor, for joining us this morning. Now the next person we got, I know y'all are going to share a lot of love with, because the next person we're bringing up on the stage is going to be Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. She is a stalwart activist, legislator, survivor, and the first woman of color to be elected to Congress from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And throughout her career as a public servant, she has fought to ensure that those close to the pain are those close to the power, and that drives and informs her policy making. So without any further ado, Congresswoman, please come on up and join us at Youth Council.
Oh, wow, you are a sight for sore eyes. You look absolutely beautiful. This looks like a movement. You know, there is no eligibility age when it comes to activism. There may be one when it comes to voting, and by the way, one of the proudest moments in my life is when John Lewis supported my amendment to lower the voting age in federal elections to 16. Yeah, you know, because I believe the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power, driving and informing the policy making. And our young people certainly know about being closest to the pain. So it is wonderful to be with all of you. I want to thank Andre for the invitation and for the important work that you are doing as chair. It is so good to be with all of you, to be with my siblings in the work of justice seeking and movement building while we are on the precipice of making history. History that will only be made possible because of the strength of this youth movement. This is a room full of activists, community and movement builders, advocates, disruptors of an unjust status quo, and when necessary, agitators. Young people have been at the forefront of every major movement in our history, marching with Martin and Malcolm, protesting South African apartheid, sounding the alarm on the climate crisis, occupying campuses across the United States to call for an end to the Vietnam War and to stop the unconscionable violence in Gaza. You know, I'm of the opinion that every great movement requires three key ingredients: imagination. We are just bold and radical enough in our dreaming to believe that we deserve to be free in every way, that joy, unbridled joy, should be an entitlement, an economic opportunity, a birthright, housing and health care, a human right. So every movement has three ingredients: imagination, which our young folks certainly have in spades; strategy, which you all are nimble and innovative, and mad that your girl still has an Android because the movement has changed. And stamina. So imagination, strategy, and stamina. And boy, do we need all three in this moment. When they are banning our bodies, they are banning our books, they are banning black hair. I am so genuinely proud of all of you for staying involved, for organizing, mobilizing, and advocating for a more just and equitable future. Together, we are making history, but not just for the sake of making history, y'all. We are set on making real and lasting change. Kamala is a partner and a friend, and I know she will be an exceptional president. She is battle-tested. She is a strong and empathetic leader. And I have to tell you, it just gets to me when they go out of their way to mispronounce her name, say her name. As a black woman with an Afrocentric ethnic name myself, say her name, Kamala, Kamala. But if you struggle with that, Madam President will do just fine. But know that when they mispronounce her name on purpose, it is meant to erase the totality of who she is. It is meant to marginalize, but it is not only an attempt to erase and marginalize her, because we all see ourselves reflected in Kamala Harris's story. It's an attempt to erase and marginalize this movement. Kamala has been a clear and leading voice on so many issues of conscience and consequence, from abortion rights, housing, healthcare justice, and of course, my partner in the work of student debt cancellation. Now notice, y'all, I didn't say student debt forgiveness, because borrowers don't need to be forgiven anything. We have only done what this country has told us was necessary in order to succeed. Kamala and I worked together closely when she was in the Senate on legislation to address the maternal health crisis, support small black businesses, advance housing justice, and to protect voting rights. And picturing her accept the Democratic nomination is emotional for me, as I'm sure it is for many of you. It is emotional because it is personal. And to be here in Chicago is so full circle for me. Although I am the Congresswoman representing the city of Boston proudly, Chicago is the city that raised me, while Boston is the city that changed me, and this is the movement that carries me. So I am very emotional in this full circle moment to be back here in Chicago. But it's personal. Like Kamala, I was raised by a strong woman who taught me the words of Shirley Chisholm and Toni Morrison. Like Kamala, I went to my first protests and community meetings in a stroller. We faced many of the same challenges and broke many of the same concrete ceilings. Not glass, because when black women break ceilings, they were concrete. Her candidacy is a powerful realization of a dream that so many have struggled for so long to make possible. As our next president, I know she will stand up for every person who calls this country home and work to make their lives better. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you. Thank you for your sweat equity. Thank you for your tenacity. Thank you for your strategy, your stamina, your imagination. This will be a decisive election, but it will take all of us. So when you are talking to your friends and family about this election, I want you to think about what is possible, about the dream, the radical dream. I want you to think about a future for this nation that is more just, more inclusive, more compassionate. Another world is possible, and we are building it together. Thank you.
Well, y'all already see the next person that's coming up right here. I'm not even going to go through the bio. I was told he specifically said, Youth Council's the meeting we can't miss. Senator Cory Booker.
You all will have to forgive me. My voice is shot, and the last thing I want to do is sound like Robert Kennedy. I just want to tell everybody here, when Jamie Harrison reached out to me, they put me on a crazy day today. I'm going quickly to do some, I've had to do some rapid response today, but I just really was excited to come here because I remember when I started in politics. I was the youngest person ever elected in my city's history. And there was this incredible network around the country of people I met through conventions like this, of other people in their 20s. What's crazy to me is I serve with some of them now. I met Alex Padilla when he was a city council person and I was a city council person, and now we're senators serving together. But any of us that talk now, remember what it was like when people didn't value our voices, when people tried to tell us to wait our turn, when people tried to tell us that there wasn't a seat at the table for us. And so I know we're talking about the top of the ticket, but when I stand before extraordinary activists and young leaders like this, what I want to tell you to do is to get involved and think about running yourself. Because I don't care if you're in a red state or a blue state or a purple state, this democracy needs you. It doesn't just need your energy and your organizing, we need that. It doesn't just need your advocacy for urgent issues on our national and international stage, but it needs the people that are willing to do things that really make yourself vulnerable, that put yourself out there, that step into the breach and actually run for office. I work in the United States Senate, and it is a place where being 50 makes you young in the United States Senate. But I just watched a president who handed over the reins and endorsed Kamala Harris, who literally got to the Senate when he was 29 years old. We're not seeing enough of that anymore. We're not seeing enough people that are bold enough, brash enough to say that I deserve to be the congressperson, to be the senator, to be the mayor, to be the governor. Because there's something about this digital divide. I work in a body where people have flip phones and brag about not having email, and yet are communicating in ways that the majority of voters don't communicate. There is such a need for people that have tools, vision, that have courage, that are willing to break with what is to embrace what can be. I want to end with this last point. One of my favorite books is a book called Parting the Waters. And it's written by it's won the Pulitzer Prize. It's written by a man named Taylor Branch. And there's a chapter in it called The Children's Miracle. And it's about this young leader in his 30s who in April of, I think the year was 1963, he was failing at his organizing in Birmingham. And he was put in jail and wrote perhaps some of the greatest, I think it's the greatest letter in American history, letters from the Birmingham jail. But even King was frustrating some of the younger people that were around him. And so he came out, and these young leaders named Dorothea Cotton and James Bevel came to him and said, please listen to us. You've said we couldn't do this, but let us do it. And he finally, out of frustration, because they were losing the battle against Bull Connor, they finally agreed to let these young organizers do what they wanted to do. And that was to organize young people ages 8 years old to 18-year-old. They literally had thousands of people show up to be organized, kids. And what they did next changed American history. They marched against Bull Connor, but Bull Connor, knowing what was going to happen, he opened up fire hoses on them, sick dogs on them. Some of the most iconic pictures of the civil rights movement are these young people who challenged it. When they were rounded up, they were put on buses. They did not stop singing songs all the way. They brought the joy, even after being so viciously attacked. It marked the first time in the modern civil rights movement that any city ever filled its jails and became overcapacitated because so many young people were lining up against the violent and vicious Bull Connor. And within 12 days, artists and organizers, people who were comfortable on their couch, had their conscience so shocked that they joined the marchers in Birmingham. Thousands of people, from Joan Baez to Dick Gregory, came down to join them. And in 12 days, the segregation that they said would never, ever end, in 12 days it fell. I want you all to know right now that you are a young movement of people that have tools that that generation could only dream of, that have the abilities and education and opportunities that really are making us different. And you see a future of possibilities that some people that I serve with in Congress can't see. This nation needs you. It needs your genius. It needs your brilliance. It needs your beauty. It needs your love. Please, yes, let's do everything we can over these next 75 days to elect Kamala Harris. She started just like me in her 20s, bold and audacious, running for offices that they said she couldn't win. But I am telling you, the Democratic Party is not built from the top down. It's built from the grassroots up. Run for local offices. Run for state legislatures. Run for city council. Run for mayor. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Booker. One thing I want to see real quick that I'm very thankful for the Senator for bringing up. If you're a young person and you're running for office this year or ran for office this year, can you stand so we can thank and recognize you? I know there's multiple y'all in this room right now. Thank you. Thank you. You are our front line. There's no other way to put it. So up next, we're actually going to have a panel of folks of, I'm really excited. Okay, I am giving the thumbs up. Okay, I'm so excited to say that we've got a panel of young mayors from across the nation that are going to talk to us now about their time in office as a young person, as a young candidate. So I'm going to have them come on up. And try to load stuff. Yeah. And here, please, yeah, please take your seats. And of course, first things first, to keep it easy, please, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, the city you represent.
Paige Cognetti, Mayor of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Joe Biden's hometown.
Mayor Justin Bibb of the great city of Cleveland, Ohio.
Mayor Brandon Scott, the greatest city in America, Baltimore City.
Quentin Lucas, the mayor of your Super Bowl champion,
Here we go.
Kansas City Chiefs, Kansas City, Missouri.
Mayor Jalen Smith, the city of Earl, Arkansas.
And so the first thing that I think we want to hear, what is helpful in the room is, you know, we hear from candidates all the time about the challenges they faced, but what challenges did you face specifically because you were young in a space that is so often dominated by the generations after us?
Who's going to go first?
You know, just starting on a light topic.
Who's going first?
So, again, Paige Cognetti, Scranton, Pennsylvania, but I am not a Scranton, Pennsylvania native. I was born in Eugene, Oregon. I'm from Beaverton, Oregon. Go Ducks! And I was running for mayor of my husband's hometown. With his last name, people actually said to me, "You don't have an Irish last name. You shouldn't even try to run for mayor." And I said, well, let's just give it a go. Let's just see if we can make this thing happen. I was in my 30s. I was 6 months pregnant with our first daughter. I'm the first woman to win, only the third to run. It was a special election 6 ways. We worked so hard to beat a political machine that had been churning out the same folks generation after generation after generation. But I knew that I could do it because I had been on campaigns myself. Once a staffer, always a staffer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I had been a congressional fundraiser. I had been on Hillary's campaign and then Obama's campaign in 2008. In Pennsylvania, we worked so hard to elect Barack Obama, and then I had the privilege to be in his administration, and I got to make policy and understand what it took on the governing side. I was able to then go to business school, go into the private sector for a couple years, come back to Scranton to start our family, and knew that I could do it because I knew what it took to govern and I knew what it took to campaign. In 2008, I kept a roll of paper towels at my desk in Philly because sometimes I would sleep overnight and it made a good pillow. But I knew what my team needed. I knew what it was going to take to run, and I never gave up no matter what crazy things people told me. I couldn't do it. I was pregnant, la, 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 la. They say these things and we push through. And our job is to carry it forward, to pay it forward to you all. You guys are already so far. You're already in this room, but you can do it. If it's not going to be you, who is it going to be? You are the next generation, and it will be my pride to see you guys sitting up here in 4 and 8 and 12 years. So thank you.
That's awesome. Very, very similar to Paige. I am the youngest black mayor in my city's history and the first millennial mayor of Cleveland. And I ran for mayor when I was 33 years old. I left my job in banking. I saw my city's horrible response to the pandemic. I saw the tragic murder of our brother, George Floyd. 10 years ago, we lost Tamir Rice in my city. And I believe that Cleveland deserved better, bold, dynamic, visionary leadership. And so when I announced my campaign, my name didn't come up in the polls. Everyone said I was too young, not experienced enough, but I beat someone who ran for president twice. I beat the council president, I beat a state senator, and I beat 2 members of city council, and I won the whole goddamn thing. So I tell you that story because you don't need a PhD in politics to lead. You need heart, ambition, vision, and some good door-knocking shoes. That's what you need, and I think everybody in this room has the same ability as well, too.
Thank you. I knew I wanted to be the mayor of Baltimore when I was 6 years old because I lived in a neighborhood where I saw, the first time I saw someone get shot, I was 6 years old, and no one cared. I was just supposed to go back to school the next day, and no one ever cared about my neighborhood except for when the Preakness horse race was happening. So imagine living in a neighborhood that is the center of the sports world for one day a year and then not being treated as human for the rest. But when I was running for mayor at 36, I had been elected for already 9 years. I had been in City Hall for already 13 years. And when I ran for City Council at the ripe old age of 27 in 2011, no one questioned my age because I had spent time working in the mayor's office as a staffer, in the council president's office as a staffer. It wasn't until I ran for a mayor as the city council president in Baltimore, that means I'm a heartbeat away from being the mayor anyway, that someone questioned my age. And they said, don't you think you need a little bit more experience? I said, more than over 10 years in city government? You guys didn't say that when Governor O'Malley ran for mayor at 36. What's different between he and I? You didn't say that when my good friend, the county executive of Baltimore County, ran for county executive. What's the difference between he and I? We were the same age. And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, I'll say it for you. They're white, I'm black, right? We have to understand that if you are destined to be in a position, then you have to push yourself and put yourself there. They are not going to do it for you, and even when you get there, they're going to say everything about you that they've never tried to say about anybody else. They said that I'm the DEI mayor, and I said, yes, I am the duly elected incumbent mayor of the city of Baltimore. I love that. So just know, don't wait for a turn. for that baton to be passed. What we saw on Monday night with the president passing the baton to the vice president very rarely happens in politics. There are graveyards in every city in America full of people waiting for a turn that never came. If you want that baton, snatch it, and snatch it right now. Thank you.
So taking us back through memory lane, y'all heard some good stories from people. Mine is just about the same. So I was elected mayor at 34. That is tied for the youngest in the history of Kansas City, if you ain't playing with the months. A few things that helped me along the way. First of all, yeah, everybody's going to try to get in your head and tell you you cannot. When I was running for mayor, I wasn't married. They were like, no, nobody's going to trust you, right? I wasn't a homeowner. I was a renter. And they said, no, everybody needs you to own a home. I'm like, half of us rent, and the rent is too damn high. And so you could put a voice to that. And then the other thing that I knew, and everybody on this panel said that, there are people with more money, more name, more status, more connections, everything. I said, nobody's going to outwork me and everybody who's with me. So if you are willing to do the work, and I'm not lying to you, anything is possible. I still remember Justin talked about the polls. I got a poll out from the local newspaper. I was tied for 6th place 2 weeks before the primary election. And I was like, damn, that can't be true. And I talked to my one staffer, and he was like, yeah, our polls were actually worse. And I was just like, all right, well, a whole bunch of undecideds. And we were able to get through our primary, get through a general, and get that work together. But the biggest thing, I'll be honest with you, don't let people get in your head and tell you what you're doing. And the other thing, and I think Mayor Cognetti mentioned that, actually everybody's mentioned this, which is, you know, you may look up here and think sometimes that elected officials are different or that they did something special. Not at all. Not at all. I was sitting in a room like this. Now, I just turned 40 on Monday. Thank you. See, he's giving me, we about the same age. He just got a lot more hair. And everybody's always like, man, are you going to be a young mayor like Brandon Scott one day? But the biggest thing that I would say is just make sure you believe in yourself. Don't let yourself get psyched out. And know that we need your young voices. We need you desperately in all of our communities and throughout our entire country.
So my story of becoming mayor is kind of different from the other mayors because I came fresh out of high school.
That's right.
I came fresh out of high school running for mayor. I announced my campaign at 17 years old. Yeah. I wasn't even legal to vote yet, nowhere. But in particularly, when I announced my campaign as mayor, I had people tell me I was too young, I didn't know nothing. He just can't be a mayor. But I didn't allow what people told me negatively to define who I was trying to become at the age of 18. Because I didn't give a doggone, as other mayors say, a damn, what people say. Because at the end of the day, you got to get your feet wet. Because somebody gave them an opportunity.
That's right.
Somebody gave them an opportunity when they was coming up. So how I cannot be in this seat as mayor. And when I stepped foot in the mayor's office, I got so much flashback from my city council. Because when I became the mayor, my foot was on the gas 100%, and it still is today, because we are 40 years behind, and I'm 18. I need to go, and so people still don't agree to me being the mayor. But at the end of the day, the people made a decision, and so that's the only thing that mattered. And being a mayor as well, you don't need experience to be a mayor, as long as your subject and verb agree. That's the only thing you need. And so that's the only thing you need to become a mayor. Because being a mayor is only what you do with it. Yeah. You can have $10 million in the bank and still can't do nothing as a mayor. Right. And so I came from nothing to something, becoming the mayor, to really understand what people wanted in the community. And when I ran for office, I ran on a campaign that I wanted people that was from my community to come back and invest in it. Because it takes people from the community to know the values to invest within your community. And so that's what I did. And regardless of the naysays, people going to talk regardless of doing good or bad. Just give them something to talk about. My grandfather always told me, if they ain't talking about you, then what are you doing? Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. So, another common theme that I know a lot of young people have heard this kind of stuff before. When you try to do something new, you're often told, oh, that's not how we do things around here. That, there's traditions, et cetera, and it often takes, young power to break from traditions that were necessarily, holding us back. Some could say we're unburdened by what had been. What is something that you've done for your constituents, that you've done for your community, that was sorely needed, that previous generations weren't willing to act on?
Let me start that off.
We'll go that way down. We'll clear things up.
So honestly, for me, what I did when I came into office, I'm a smaller community, 2,000 population, 3.25 square miles. People said that a grocery store couldn't happen. I brought a grocery store within the first year that I was in office in the community. When I came into office, that other mayors did not do was, number one, be proactive. When I came into office, I came into an office where sewer pump stations were collapsing. Sewer was running in people's houses. We used some of the ARPA money that the federal government gave and restored all of that.
That's right.
Well, council members said, well, let's repair one at a time. We don't have more time for one at a time. Let's go ahead and replace this so we can get this over with. Because at the end of the day, they're not calling a councilman, they're calling the mayor's office. So I can go on and on about people, especially my city council members that sat in a position over 40 years and have done absolutely nothing. Nothing have they done. And so when I stepped foot in the office day one, it was time out for that. I got so much controversy from them. It was 8 against 1. But at the end of the day, I did what I could do to move my community forward without the council. Because again, they don't just move money and laws. But we can make other things that else happen. Another thing that I've done since I've been in office was we're doing right now. We're doing parks that have not been done in over 40 years of my community history. We're repairing streets that have not been done in over 10 years, that mayors have not done, have ignored. Mayors that have been in office before me have been at their church and versus being at the office. Listening to people and really understanding the youth. Because at the end of the day, the youth is the 100% of the future. So how can you ignore somebody that's trying to do something? That tells me you're rather for somebody to do something bad versus doing something good. Because that's what my council members really entertain. They never had a leader that had a vision to really fulfill the dreams of a community. They had a mayor that did nothing for 40 years. But when I stepped foot day one, I'm telling you, they're sick of me right now. They know me as a guy that don't accept no for an answer. And so it's time out for that. And really, it's it.
That's good, brother. I got you. Well said.
That's a word.
Let the church say amen. I'll just say this. First of all, don't let anybody ever tell you it is bad to be impatient. Impatience is key. Part of why I ever got into public service, I remember growing up, we knew some struggles coming up, and if you didn't have functioning heat, that 2 months matters. If you knew homelessness, which we did, not having a place to stay for 2 weeks or 3 weeks mattered. And so what you can't just say is we'll figure it all out in a year or 2 years or 3 years. So an issue that I have found particularly impactful, I spent time with Congresswoman Presley this morning, is student loan debt.
Yeah.
Student loan debt. I got out of school and it gets worse and worse. I'm not a horror story. Probably something around $180,000 worth of debt. A whole bunch of people know a whole bunch of different levels of debt in connection with it. And one of the things that I was proud of the Biden-Harris administration, people like Congresswoman Presley, Senator Booker, so many others for fighting for, was saying that there is something we can do about it. Because half of the challenge isn't the debt that we are taking on, it is the way that we have people who are exploiting us. Organizations like Mohila and so many others that are using predatory lending practices on all y'all to make sure not only that, you incur the debt, but that it is impossible to repay, it is impossible to call them, it is impossible to try to do almost anything to try to address it and fix it. And something that surprised me about my community, back to the question. There was a Supreme Court hearing. It was a case that came out of my part of the country. I apologize. But there was this hearing, and I went up to talk about it afterwards. And I was in this forum, I was with so many others, and I thought when I got back home I would get a whole bunch of flack. But I didn't. I didn't, because there were so many in my community, many on the left, but some on the right, who said, in our community, if we don't have folks who are able to get sometimes these degrees, we don't have social workers. We don't have public teachers in our schools. We don't have EMTs. We don't have enough nurses. And so making sure that we are fighting for the people is a key part of what mayors have to do today. Our job is potholes. Our job is also policy. And you really can't separate the two. So I think the biggest thing for us has been, in some ways, transforming what the position is. You're here with a row of people who do that. And also making sure that there are those who say, nah, to be mayor, all you need to do, I joke about football, that's not all I do. Because I had predecessors, too, who thought the job was you go to a game, you go to a fundraiser, 16 years later, you're like, yeah, I was a good mayor. That's not what we're here for. We are here to change the world every year, every month, every day. And I think that's the biggest change we can make.
This is a great question for me. When the question was asked, Quentin said everything about your administration is what you did differently. And I think I did that very intentionally, because why would I do things the way they had been done for the 36 years I've been alive? In my city and my neighborhood have been struggling. My people have been struggling. And we have to be the person that just does it differently and pushes in a different way. But if I have to think about a few things that I will talk about. One, I will talk about my approach to Baltimore's longest standing public health challenge, and that's gun violence. Most of my life, they put the sole responsibility of curing America's most deadly disease when it comes to our children solely on the back of police officers. No one else. No one else. And we created in 2021 Baltimore's first ever comprehensive violence prevention plan, which is actually mandated by law, a law that I passed when I was the city council president, that our health commissioner has to head up how Baltimore is going to deal with gun violence. And I walked out in a press conference, I know these fine folks saw it, where I said we're going to reduce homicides by 15% from one year to the next. And people laughed at me until we not only did it, we reduced it by 20% last year, which is the largest that we've ever had in our city. And now we're beating that with a 29% reduction. And we're going to continue to make those investments. But I have to say this, none of that would have been able to happen at the rate that it happened were it not for this vice president and this president. I happened to be a part of that first meeting with them around gun violence, where we asked, myself and others asked, for the ability to use our ARPA funding to fund community violence intervention. And we asked if there could be an Office of Gun Violence Prevention in the White House. We asked if the president of these United States would say that gun violence is a public health issue. We didn't know he was going to walk right out there and do it, but we were very happy as hell that he did, because it changes everything for us to be able to make that approach. But I said that to say that if you want to see that change, you have to demand it immediately. You have to be it immediately. And you have to always know, especially when you're in an elected position, right? And the church say we're not going to be here for a long time. We're here for a good time. You're not going to be in elected office long. But make sure you have the impact. And that impact has to be made. I say all the time to my staff, we're here to do the right thing, not the popular one. The popular one, the right thing, is never popular. People don't like change. As much as they say it, people want things to be easy, and change is hard. Progress is hard. You have to operate in who you are, right? I wear my hair the way I wear tennis shoes, I wear T-shirts, because I'm trying to change what people think of what being a mayor is. Being a mayor is about the policy, the impact, how you help people, how many lives you save, how much a legacy you leave, and the policy and the things that will live longer than you. Right? That's what being a mayor is about. It's about helping and investing in these people, not just for the 3 years to get reelected in the fourth, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line for people that you will never see and that will never vote for you.
That's right. That's great. And I want to just build on what Mayor Scott mentioned. Do not get it twisted. Democratic mayors, with this administration, we are making our country safe because of this administration. We all know that the war on drugs has disproportionately affected black and brown communities. And in my family, in my neighborhood, I've seen too many people who couldn't get a job, who couldn't get a student loan, who couldn't start a business because they had a low-level marijuana misdemeanor on their record. And so we fought to expunge over 4,000 low-level marijuana convictions in my city. The courts tried to block it, and this is an area where I worked with a Republican, and we passed a law that now gives every city and every county the ability to expunge low-level marijuana convictions all across the state, right? So one example of using the bully pulpit of our office to change people's lives.
Absolutely. I just have to say, Democratic mayors, U.S. mayors, we are a close-knit group. I am just so proud to be up here with all of you. There are those moments where you look out and you just think, these are my friends. These are my colleagues. We work so hard together, and that's something I want you all to take away, too. When you get to these places where you're mayors, we are friends with each other. We are colleagues with each other. We call each other from across the country all of the time. So it becomes this group of people that inspires you every day, that picks you up when you're feeling down, and it's just a privilege to always be with you guys. So that six-way race I talked about was because my predecessor is in prison for extortion. There is a culture of corruption in some of these pockets of America that is still alive and well. The reason that these people want to just pass the baton to each other in these little circles is because they're still doing stuff they're not supposed to be doing. Right? There's a reason that there are headlines all too often about this. So generations of folks have just given jobs to each other, given jobs here, there, and when I came into the city, it looked like part of the city, but not the whole city. So something that is not revolutionary, but is pretty new in Scranton, in 4.5 years in office, all of a sudden, the city workforce looks like the city. We have more women, we have people of color, we have more people of different religions. It is starting to work. And I always say, it's strange when you hire on merit and put it out there that the job is open, and just don't go by word of mouth. It's interesting what happens, right? The city starts to look like the city. The right people get those jobs. The right people get lifted up. And I love getting to do that, getting to see that flicker in the eyes of the kids when they come to City Hall or when we go out. They're starting to see themselves in the city government, and it's a proud thing for us.
Well, thank y'all so very much for your time. We greatly appreciate having had here at Youth Council. Please give it up for our mayors one last time. Our next speaker joining us is an NAACP Image Award nominee who is known perhaps best for her role in the BAFTA, Emmy, and Peabody Award-nominated animated series Doc McStuffins. Leia DeLeon Hayes currently stars opposite Queen Latifah on the CBS series The Equalizer, and she is using her positions of power and her voice to lift up those that are the least among us. We're so happy to have her join us here today up on stage. Oh, there you are. Come on up, Leia.
Hi everyone, my name is Leia. You're gonna have to excuse me. I am very hoarse at the moment, but I'm still here and ready to go. So, hi you guys, my name is Leia DeLeon Hayes. I'm an actress who does everything from voiceover to games and currently starring on CBS's The Equalizer. Thank you, Equalizer fans. I'm here in Chicago because I care about our future and I want to be on the right side of history. So it's a pleasure for me to be standing in front of you all today. As a person of Asian and African American descent with a platform and a first-time voter in the 2024 presidential election, I see firsthand just how much representation matters. So this election definitely means a lot to me. Thank you. Our democracy has never been more challenged than it is now. And I would be lying if I said at times I didn't feel discouraged or scared, like I'm sure so many of us have felt over the past few years. But I think we can all agree as well that Kamala Harris has re-energized this country in a way we haven't seen in a very long time. And to add Tim Walz's ticket just made it even better. I've been fortunate enough to travel to canvassing events in battleground states, and to see the amount of enthusiasm has been truly inspiring. Harris and Walz have shown us what humanity looks like and provided us hope. They believe in our democracy and they believe in our future. A future that will protect women, our right to reproductive freedom, and restoring Roe v. Wade. Thank you. A future that will protect our planet and make sure we all recognize the reality of climate change. A future that believes in the importance of gun safety and putting an end to gun violence. A future that puts American people first. As we keep hearing, we cannot go back, and we can't get comfortable as too much is at stake. Now, I'm not going to waste my breath talking about Trump because I'm hoarse and I don't want to do that, but also, I'm sure we have all seen the horrific Project 2025 agenda. And as a member of Gen Z, a generation that will have 40 million eligible voters this November, our vote matters. It is, yes. This is a critical time. It's critical for us to use our voice in this election. And trust, we have all seen what happens when we come together. Our voice matters. It matters that we have a future. It matters that we all have opportunities. And it matters that we have a leader that will keep us going forward. It is important to think about what life we're leaving behind, not only for our generation, but for all the generations that come after us. So we know the assignment, and that is to get Kamala Harris elected as the 47th President of the United States. And in the words of our future president, when we fight, we win. So on November, I see you. On November 5th, let's execute the plan and finish the fight because our future depends on it. I'm inspired by each and every one of you, and so thank you for having me. Let's vote on November 5th. Thank you, guys.
Our next speaker, I'm happy to introduce, is a good friend of mine. He's a good friend of Youth Council. Those of us that have been around know him as the founder of Youth Council, someone that was first elected to the DNC at the age of 17. But America got the chance to meet him and knows him as the voice of the roll call vote that nominated Kamala Harris to be the next president. I'm so happy to introduce DNC Secretary Jason Ray.
Well, good afternoon, Democrats. Come on, we can have a little, we got to bring the energy a little bit. Well, welcome to convention, the last day here as we celebrate, but it is so great to close out. This is my last caucus and council meeting that I'm attending during convention. It's just great to be amongst friends here. I want to just start, Andre, by saying thank you for your leadership of the Youth Council. Let's give it up for our chair. It is just so great to be here. As was mentioned, we've continued to see this room grow and grow, and the number of youth delegates grow and grow. When I was first elected to the DNC now 20 years ago, which is a sobering number to say sometimes, we had 6 DNC members under the age of 36, and that's how the DNC defined youth. Out of 450 or so DNC members, there were 6. I think now we're up to...
We're almost at 30.
Almost at 30 right now, which is something that we've worked hard to do. We worked hard. Let's give it up for that. Yeah. Through that work over the years with great leadership like Andre and Michael Catt before and others, we worked to make sure that we put with state parties delegate goals in place so that state parties for the first time starting in 2008 would elect young people and make it a priority to elect young people as delegates from their convention. And I'm excited to say we have so many young people who got elected to represent us, to represent the party this year. And I have loved being able to look out across the stage in the arena at just what the diversity of our country looks like. And I can see it in this room and I see it in the United Center, and it just inspires me each and every day. And I know that tonight we are going to have an absolutely phenomenal time as we watch Kamala Harris accept the party's nomination tonight. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for the work that you are doing. Thank you for the work that you have already done, that you're going to continue to do. We've got 70 plus days, and as Coach said last night, we don't sleep until we're dead. So we're going to run this to the finish line. We're going to keep things going, but it's going to depend on all of us. So let's take that energy that we have at the council meetings. Let's take that energy that we have from the United Center tonight. Go back home to our communities. Spread the love. Let's talk about electing a president of joy. I think Americans want someone who is joyful and want joy back in politics. So let's go elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, as well as Democrats up and down the ballot this November. But thanks for letting me stop by, everybody, and keep up the great work.
And then one last thing that we're going to do before we part ways for today. Unfortunately, Congressman Maxwell Frost, who was going to speak with us, is unable to join today. He's actually out sick. But he did send a letter, and we do want to read that to y'all right now because we definitely want to hear what he has to say, even if he's not the one that's able to say it right now. So, Tyler, you want to come up? And by the way, let's give it up for Tyler, who this would not happen without him. I want to be clear. He came on relatively recently to the DNC, jumped right into the deep end, and put this together. So if you've enjoyed what we did today, you enjoyed what happened Tuesday, he's the #1 person to thank.
Let's give it up again for our chair, Andre. Let's give it up for Andre, his leadership. Yeah, I'm here to read the letter from the congressman, but first I want to say, are y'all excited for tonight? I don't know. Are y'all excited for tonight? Are y'all ready to fight? Are y'all ready to win? Because I believe that young people will set the tone and lead the way, and so we're so excited to elect Kamala Harris, our next president of the United States. So here's the note from Congressman Maxwell Frost. He says, "Hello, DNC Youth Council. I'm so sorry I could not join you today. I woke up with no voice and delivering remarks on the main stage tonight. I'm currently resting my voice, but I wanted you all to know how much you inspire me as a legislator and a leader. In 2020, we achieved the highest youth voter turnout in history of our country. And because of the people in this room and the energy of this campaign, we will beat 2020 this November and once again set a record. My message is simple. Don't let the energy of this moment cloud the fact that we will still have hard work to do. Knocking every door, phone banks, creative events, and meeting people where they are, it's up to us to ensure that the energy online translates to votes in action. I'll be traveling the country over the next 2 months on the campaign, and I hope to see you all on the trail. Much love, Congressman Maxwell Frost."
Thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. That's what we've got for today for Youth Council. I just want to close with how I opened, which is reminding folks that young people are not just the future of this party. We are its present.